Hey Libra, this is Michael with your general reading for December 2020. Hello and welcome to the end of the year. We have almost made it through this wild and unprecedented year. It's been absolutely crazy. I suspect there will be quite a bit of interesting shifts happening energetically this month with the astrology. We have the great conjunction between Jupiter and Saturn. I will be talking a bit more about that throughout this reading, but before we dive in, I do just want to thank all of you who have supported this channel with your likes, shares, comments, and subscribes. It's with all of your support that I'm able to continue doing this incredible work, and it has been such a gift and quite a journey, and I'm so grateful to all of you who have joined me along this wild ride. I do have all of my links in the description box down below if you're looking for personal readings, Reiki sessions, or feel called to make a donation. I do also have a link for a blog post that lists out all the astrological aspects and transits I will be referencing by date, so you don't need to remember when these things are happening. It is available to you down below. I personally reference my own blogs and find them helpful, so I hope you do as well. I was doing a dedicated astrology report at the start of these videos, but honestly it just made them too long, and even then these videos have been quite lengthy, so I do recommend that you make yourself a hot beverage and maybe a snack before you circle in. I have my tea right here. I am really curious to see what comes up for you. I'll be talking about the astrology as I'm kind of shuffling and pulling some cards for you. I'm actually feeling the Wild Unknown deck for you today, which is interesting. I felt more called to use this one lately. So what are the messages we have for Libra? And so while we are shuffling here, I do want to talk about the eclipse that we had on November 30th, because that is definitely coloring the first half of this month. This eclipse in Gemini was affecting your 9th house, which is your house of horizons, your house of new ideas, learning new things. Some of you may have just completed something that you've been learning about, or you have a lot of new information that has come up for you recently. You're learning new things, or you're able to put these new things into practice. That's a big way I could see that manifesting for you. And you know, this eclipse, it did hit a lot of people pretty hard. I know for myself, I was pretty thrown off kilter by it, to be totally honest. My moon is actually in the opposite sign in Sagittarius, and I'm also a Virgo sun, so that right there, a lot of nasty opposition and a square. But for you, Libra, this eclipse could actually be quite a bit of an energy boost for you. And it could be some blessings coming into your life. It could also be revealing some work that needs to be done. The full moon is all about a completion of a cycle. It's things coming full circle. And so for you, that could be talking about spirituality, it could be talking about academics. Anything that, again, broadens your horizons. That's a good way to think of the 9th house. So the first two cards that come out for you, you have the Mother of Pentacles and the Page of Pentacles. See, I knew some of you were learning something new or coming out of your comfort zone here, but I see this almost as growth. You're becoming a lot more stable this month. You're really stepping into your own this month. You could be experiencing a promotion. You might be, you know, stepping up in your life in a new way, in a bigger way. And you're thinking a lot more about the future than you were before. Before you were kind of just focused on, okay, what am I going to do? How am I going to get through this? How am I going to get through this year? What do I do next? There is this turn for you where you're starting to look at things from a broader perspective. And again, that could be that 9th house activation we were talking about before. And there is also a lot of focus for you financially, being in Scorpio season. We are in your 2nd house. But yeah, I'm seeing some growth, I'm seeing some new stability here. That seems to be the theme. And if that's not something that is manifesting for you, it's something you're feeling really revved up to do in the first part of this month. Some of you could also be connecting with an earth sign, Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn. Yeah, And if that's the case, there's a lot of happiness there for you, or the potential for a lot of happiness. But again, I feel like this is actually your energy, to be completely honest. You do have the World and the Ten of Cups. There is a completion. You are moving forward with something. You're coming into a new chapter, which is very, very exciting, and it's bringing you a lot of happiness. And it's connecting you to people, to the life you really want to have, or really just leveling up. And this might not even be just about one area of your life. There's just this big increase, this big growth that's happening for you, and that's really, really exciting. We do also have a new moon eclipse, a solar eclipse, I should say, that is going to be happening on December 14th, right in the middle of the month. That is going to be in Sagittarius, your 3rd house. And you could be coming into a new community. There could be a new beginning for you there. You could be setting the intention to learn new things, putting these things into practice. That's something we've been talking about. If you've been doing a lot of review or a lot of learning, you are now figuring out, how do I put this into practice? How do I translate this into my everyday life? And share this with the people around me. Yeah, it really is a good time for you to learn new skills. And with this Daughter of Pentacles, you're learning new things, you're coming out of your comfort zone, you might feel a little bit shy or timid, but I see this growth, I see this Mother of Pentacles. Maybe this is someone who's very nurturing or solid themselves, helping you step into yourself a little more. But either way, I see a lot of happiness, I see a lot of beauty for you this month. Some major achievement, perhaps. So, congratulations. That's too many. Let's try again. What else do we have? We do have the Hermit. So some of you could be connecting with a Virgo, or to the Virgo energy. Taking some time for yourself and really reflecting. But the interesting thing about the Hermit, and this is almost how I am interpreting it in this specific reading, it feels like you have been in the Hermit energy and now you're coming out of your shell. Some of you are still looking for this light, some of you are still doing this inner work, but for others of you, you are literally opening yourself up to the world again, and that might feel scary, but you actually have something to offer. Someone perhaps could even be coming to you now or in the future, seeing how far you have come, asking you about how you managed to be so successful, or how you were able to go forward in a certain situation. And you might end up being this hermit to somebody else, but to be honest, it's more like you are giving this, you're coming out of your shell, you're reaching out to people. I see that with the world especially. Let's pull one more card just to kind of clarify this, and we'll look at the second half of the month in just a moment. I kind of like to break these readings up. This is kind of the energy you've just been in, and might be in for the first half of December. There we go. So the Three of Swords. You might have been isolating yourself out of pain, and ironically, by you retreating and withdrawing, you actually kept yourself in that pain. And maybe that's the shift for you. Maybe that's what this is actually talking about for some of you. If you don't feel like you're having this big achievement or this big move forward, maybe this is the recognition that I have held myself in my own pain without even realizing it. And now I'm ready for this new chapter. I'm ready to begin something new here. Because all this air energy that we are experiencing with the eclipse in Gemini on November 3rd and the Great Conjunction, which we will be talking about shortly, on the 21st, there is a big shift for you. Let's pull an animal card here. Maybe get a sense of direction. or any other advice that wants to come through. What is the animal wisdom for my Libras? And I am a Libra rising myself. I consent to this reading, if this is for me too. Unicorn, interesting. Connecting with the third eye. Again, there was this spiritual thing I really was circling around before. And the unicorn with its horn does represent the third eye. It represents intuition, seeking answers. Some of you are just finally deciding to get an answer on something after holding yourself back, not wanting to see some truth. Maybe that's what this change is. But I actually feel like for a lot of you, you've been working with your intuition more, and now you might be sharing that with other people. Coming out of your shell. Maybe it wasn't time before because there was a lot of emotion for you. The thing with intuition and dealing with our emotions or working with our emotions, I think a lot of the time, especially people who identify as empaths, that there is this hard distinction between what is an emotional response I'm having versus what is my intuition. And sometimes our intuition does give us an emotional response and we get stuck in that. I want you to be very aware of how you might be picking up on things and perhaps your emotions are making you feel them more intensely than they actually are. It's almost exaggerating the energy. And we've been living in a very traumatized time. We've gone through a lot this year collectively, and I'm sure personally for a lot of you as well. And when we are coming from a place of trauma, from fear, from already being wounded, it's like one little thing can feel like, you know, this huge ordeal, making mountains out of molehills. But I actually think you're becoming aware of that tendency if that's been you, Libra. And it feels positive because now that you know that, you're moving forward, you're feeling more regulated, you're feeling more stable. And it's time to trust your intuition more. And to not be afraid of it. Because that's another thing too. A lot of the time when we actually are very reactive to our intuition, on some level we are afraid of our intuition. No? Okay, no other animals. They want me to go to the second half of this month now. As I've been talking about, we have the great conjunction between Jupiter and Saturn this month. This is probably the most significant astrological transit of the year. This conjunction usually only happens once every 20 years, but because of this year and the retrograde cycles, I believe it's actually the second or third time, or these planets have just been very close to each other all year. And Saturn represents lessons, it represents restriction, focus, discipline. It's almost the stern father figure. You have to earn the thing you're working for with it. You have to be ready and prove yourself. And with Jupiter being this great expansive energy, wanting freedom, but also amplifying the energy of Saturn, there's been so many restrictions that have been placed on us this year, especially with all of this being in the sign of Capricorn. But there is a shift energetically now that we are going into Aquarius. And it's interesting because a lot of the aspects and transits we are having this month were actually very similar to what we had at the start of this year. And we find ourselves facing quarantines, lockdowns again. But what's interesting is that we are coming from things from a different perspective. We've grown a lot this year, individually. Even though we might be tired, even though we might be fatigued, we might not be seeing people at their best, there is a great potential for growth, and that happens with that Jupiter-Saturn conjunction. If you've been doing the lessons, doing the work, you will receive a huge karmic reward. There is a big karmic return this month. And what's also interesting about this cycle is that we have had Jupiter and Saturn conjoining, coming together in Earth signs for the past 200 years. Which has led to things like the Industrial Revolution, increased abundance, focus on materialism. And now the shift, the turn of the chapter, we are focusing more on each other, on communication. And that doesn't mean that things are suddenly going to shift overnight. Okay. They could get worse before they get better. We are being catapulted into a new age. And sometimes when you are forged by the fire, it hurts like hell. And your willingness to grow, your willingness to change and to adapt is going to make all the difference. And the collective wants to turn into something better, into something more humanitarian, which is all of this Aquarian energy we are coming into. And for you, this is actually about your joy. Maybe you're dating again. Maybe you're getting out of your shell. You're opening up to the things that make you happy, because Aquarian energy is your 5th house. Your house of fun. And we were talking about intuition earlier, and you pulled 2 of the most intuitive cards right after that, which is the Star and the High Priestess. Some of you are following your intuition in your life. You've made a step forward, and it's leading you someplace beautiful. You might not even know where exactly this is leading you right now. And it doesn't mean that it's going to be an easy road. It doesn't mean that there's not going to be challenges, especially throughout the next couple of years. When you have Saturn in your 5th house, it can bring a lot of restriction, and it kind of sucks. As a Virgo, I went through a similar thing. I'm also a Libra rising, so I'm really familiar with this Saturn in the 5th house energy. Because as a Virgo, I've had it in Capricorn, my 5th house, or Virgo's 5th house. And it can really make it hard to just enjoy yourself and to have fun. But working with this energy, Saturn is also about career and building something for yourself. Some of you are literally building something, building a career that you love. And I'm actually getting, for a lot of you, this is about your intuition or something spiritual or metaphysical. If that's your hobby, could also be creative. Whatever it is that brings you joy, you're taking it more seriously. And we do have Jupiter there as well, so there is a lot of room for growth, a lot of expansion, especially in 2021. But to be honest, it's not optimal to have Saturn and Jupiter in the same sign. It really isn't, because while there are potential for growth, there is a potential for growth, there we go, it can feel really restricted, and it can feel like there's a lot of things to overcome first before you get there, but those lessons make you achieve far more than you would have otherwise. So just keep that in mind if it feels like you're kind of hitting your head against a wall a lot, either in December or even into next year. But Jupiter is moving away from Saturn throughout 2021. There is hope that is returning. And hope has been something that we have been sorely lacking this year with Jupiter, our optimism, in the sign of Capricorn. So you are coming into more hope. You are connecting to your intuition. You are connecting to the divine, the spiritual, whatever that means for you. You actually have the 6 of Swords, and the 9 of Swords comes out in the reverse. I don't ordinarily read reversals with this deck. But I feel like the way I'm looking at this, you're leaving a lot of anxiety behind you. You're getting out of this 9 of Swords energy where you were overthinking everything, maybe having sleepless nights, Which is really interesting because, to be honest, the end of the year could be quite dramatic, actually. But I think regardless of what happens, Libra, your sense of faith, your hope in the future, it's not dependent or impingent on your external reality as much anymore. You have a strong spiritual center that you may not have had at the start of this year, and you've been refined, and you're really going to be seeing that in December. But you're leaving something hard behind. You're coming into something brighter. This could be talking about a move, especially a move to a different part of the world, which is interesting because we are in a pandemic right now, so I'm not sure how that's going to be happening for some of you. Or maybe you're just making the plan. But you are going someplace different. You're moving forward in very energetic and perhaps physical ways. And the Mother of Wands, doing this thing that you love. Again, this feels really, really positive. I'm really, really excited for my Libra folks. We are also ending off this month with a full moon in Cancer, which is your midheaven, your 10th house. And the way that this is going to affect Libra energy is that it could be giving you a big reward in your career, or your sense of purpose, your dreams, your aspirations in the world at large. And I really feel like some of you are on the verge of making a career change, or just doing the things that you love. Your sense of purpose might actually be changing, which is interesting. Or you're really feeling called to do something that you love. I see that with the Mother of Wands, the Queen of Wands here. Some of you are actually, again, this is a general reading. I do want to say though, if you are looking at doing something creative, if you are looking at performing of some kind, you actually could have the potential to acquire some degree of fame or notoriety with this Star card and with this Mother of Wands. But I actually feel like for a lot more of you, this is talking more about something spiritual or intuitive, those arts, the healing arts. Let's pull one more animal card and maybe take a closer look here. I will say too, I want to say this more for the general collective, not even for you, Libra, because I feel like this reading is very, very positive. I don't want to set up a false expectation of what this could potentially look like with this conjunction in Jupiter and Saturn. I do feel like I am being called to share. Because there is this revolution that is essentially going on, this ascension, or the way it's actually sort of manifested, which has surprised a lot of people, is the uprising. Aquarian energy is all about rebellion. And when you have people stepping into their power, rising up, there are individuals who get very upset with that. When you are moving into something new, the old will resist. And there could even be some conflict or resistance or contention there. But it's like, I'm not so worried about it because the old way of being is on its dying breath. And whatever it does, it's out of desperation. It's not going to be able to hold forever. Kind of a totally different tone. Your spirit animal is hummingbird, this lightness of being, finding joy, being nourished by the sweetness of life. And when you're able to do that, even in challenging times, there is such a degree of spiritual mastery and emotional mastery in that. Again, some of you might be feeling called to be working intuitively, because hummingbird is a messenger. Specifically working with kind of like angelic or fairy energy, the fae. That might be something for you to tap into. Maybe you're feeling called or pulled in that direction, but it's a very light energy. And there is this sense of fast movement, so that there could be a move, there could be a change. You're moving again. And that's kind of that Gemini energy as well. Do you notice how I kind of grip my teeth at that? I'm not saying anything wrong about Gemini as people, but just as an energy, it's challenging for me, it really is. But for you, Libra, this looks very beautiful. And you're working with it very, very well. So, ride that wave. I don't really think there's anything else to say. I feel like I've touched on everything that's here. I do hope that this reading was helpful for you, Libra. Be sure to hit like and subscribe. Let me know in the comment section down below what this passion is for you. What is it that is calling your name? Maybe putting that in writing down below will help you commit to it just a little bit more, take it more seriously with Saturn in your 5th house there. If you want to look at some of the other readings, I do have the natal chart calculator in the description box down below if you want to look at what your moon, rising, or Venus signs are, or maybe you just forgot, that is available for you as well. And I will see you all in next month's video. Take care, Libra.